first. All right, so this is the Writers Guild of America West. They put out these tweets, I guess like late last night. They wrote, the board of directors of the Writers Guild of America West and the council of the Writers Guild of America East, acting upon the authority granted to them by their memberships, have voted unanimously to call a strike effective 12:01 a.m. Tuesday, May 2. So the strike is now in effect. They are calling on their guild members, their union members, to strike. And then they put out a couple more tweets here. We'll just scroll down. We'll just read the tweets. They said they tried to explain their decision, saying the decision was made following 6 weeks of negotiating with Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery, NBC Universal, Paramount Plus, and Sony under the umbrella of AMPTP. I assume that's some union. I don't know what that acronym stands for. I didn't look it up, but it's probably some kind of
American Motion Picture TP.
I don't TP, whatever that is.
Why not?
Yeah. Though our negotiating committee began this process intent on making a fair deal, studios' responses have been wholly insufficient given the existential crisis writers are facing. They don't explain what this existential crisis is. I doubt that they're actually facing an existential crisis. They should be facing an existential crisis, one that hopefully turns them back to God, but I don't think they really are.
There's word that Tencent over in China, they're like the YouTube kind of conglomerate that for China. They fired most of their writers.
Media company.
They fired most of their writers in favor of chatgpt. So this might be what they're complaining about, is AI's being brought in to replace them, and they're striking to help it. I'm not sure.
That's possible. What's really interesting is that they were actually using AI to try and get their like Hollywood, like a lot of these the whole diversity agenda was using AI to make sure that they passed like the Bechdel test and they had enough women and everything in their films, and that they were meeting all of these ridiculous diversity agenda quotas and standards. And we covered this a couple years ago. It's the League of Their Own actress is the one kind of spearheading it. She has her own like special interest group that basically runs Hollywood scripts through her AI program to make sure that it meets their standards. And a lot of Hollywood studios were doing this. So it's really interesting that the thing that they were using to try and push their agenda seemingly is now potentially giving them this existential crisis. But at the end of the day, AI is still a tool, in my opinion. Obviously, the word's still out on this. It does require quite a bit of instruction. I would assume quite a bit of instruction in order to produce any kind of feasible story.
Well, it plagiarizes. That's been the problem with it.
Yeah, well, there you go. You've got that as well. So, I mean, I know I did use an AI generated image of old Ray. I used two generated from Gab's AI called Gabby for a featured image because they're supposedly David Lindelof's Star Wars movie was supposed to feature an old Ray played by potentially Helen Mirren or someone in that vein. But I did use that, and it took me a couple inputs to get it to where I wanted it to be. To get it to what I wanted it to kind of produce. And I think that the results were actually pretty decent. I was actually very happy with what I got from that. But yeah, you still require human input to output what you want, to give you what you want. It's not just going to, it's not, let's say, I don't think, at least in this time, it's not going to be the next Tolkien, and it's not going to be writing Lord of the Rings. It's not going to be the next Robert E. Howard writing Conan. It's not going to be the next C.S. Lewis writing the Narnia or his space trilogy. We're still far from that. It's not going to be the next Shakespeare. Whether or not it can replace the absolute garbage comedy, quote unquote comedy, that the late night programs are producing, that might be another story. What if says we're doomed with AI? But as long as it takes down Hollywood first, good. Yeah, I don't know. I see it. It's just another tool, right? The internet is a tool. AI is a tool. It can obviously be used for good or for evil. And the whole idea of it being sentient is just kind of ridiculous. I think it's just from what I understand, it's just very quick processor, and it's kind of just aggregating the data at an exponential level. It's not sentient.
No.
So
the mistake that we make is the same mistake when we look at the sky and we see bunnies in the clouds. Humans have the habit of humanizing other things. That's why we talk to cats and dogs like they're human, even though they're not. And the same as with AI. We have a very advanced question and answer machine is what this is. Yes, it makes images. Yes, it can make music. Yes, now it can make movies, but it is still just an advanced question and answer machine. And AI itself will always be that. The machine will never arrive at a conclusion like Skynet would, because a machine is not programmed like a human is. A human wants to survive because life is finite. A machine does not understand birth. It does not understand death. It understands begin function and end function. These are not final or Genesis like to it at all.
Yeah.
These are just simply functions it performs. So our worry about an AI harming us, unless we tell it to, that's always possible. But unless we tell it to, it's not going to get there on its own.
It's the people using the AI that we always need to be wary of.
Right.
But there is some really cool stuff that AI is doing. Let's pull this up real quick. Well, actually, let's finish this up. Let's finish this like real quick here, and then we'll kind of like pivot over to this quote here. Not this article, but just this tweet, and we'll come back to the article afterwards. But the Writers Guild of America says they're going to start picketing tomorrow afternoon, which I guess is today. But let's look at this. This is a if you look in the private chat side, I pull this up here. This tweet from AI Breakfast, I think.
And these Joe Rogan shorts.
Yeah, this is really cool. They're able to now use AI to dub Joe Rogan into different languages, and this one is in Spanish. It's really cool. It sounds like, I don't speak Spanish, but it sounds very, very accurate.
Convincing, yes.
Very convincing. And so there is obviously a danger to this, but again, obviously you can be using it for good, because like it lets Joe Rogan easily get his podcast out into different languages, right?
In his own voice.
Right, without having to go through translators or anything like that. And that's kind of really cool. But obviously it can be used to like impersonate him and other things. So there is a danger there. But let's look at this here.
Athletic Greens, la bebida nutricional diaria, todo en uno para mejorar la salud y alcanzar un rendimiento óptimo. Es un fantástico suplemento de superalimentos.
That sounds like Joe Rogan speaking fluent Spanish.
Yeah, it sounds very, very good. Really interesting, really cool stuff. Like, I guess it's 11 Labs is the company, and they have a multilingual voice cloning tech. Obviously, I mean, there's so many great possibilities that you can do with this thing, but then obviously there's the harm in it as well. And again, it comes down to the humans who are using it. Are they going to choose to use it for good or even just kind of like neutral? You're not making a moral decision there, or are you going to use it for evil? So, I mean, like, I like just, it's not really like good or evil if you're just kind of translating whatever Joe is saying into Spanish and then having that marketed. But if you're trying to do that and then sell it, and you're basically trying to steal what Joe is saying in his own thing, then yeah, that's wrong. So again, like, there is obviously a lot of nuance to it.